What's good, everybody? Joey Piazza here, aka AM PM. 35 years old, been riding downtown New York City since the late 90s. Welcome to the world of AM PM. I film and edit the AM PM videos. I've been doing that since 2005 when I first got my 3-chip camera, my Canon GL2. Been riding in the city for quite some time. Pre 9/11, definitely. Late 90s. Watched a lot of things change over the years when it comes to the people, the terrain, the lifestyle, the fashion, everything. I've seen it all change throughout the years. But I'm still out here riding, trying to do it as much as possible, still filming videos. Still trying to keep the scene alive. Who got me into BMX riding? Well, I think it was like probably 1997. I was watching the X Games and I saw like a highlight reel and it was Dennis McCoy like riding a vert ramp. And I was like, damn, that looks really cool. I would love to try to do that. And I'm like, damn, you need a bike, you need this. And at that point I was skateboarding. So I saw the BMX thing and I was like, oh man, I need to get a bike. So I ended up getting pretty much the same bike Dennis McCoy had. I think he was riding for Mongoose at the time, or maybe K2 or something, but he was riding like a high level Mongoose. I ended up getting like the cheaper one, the Mongoose Rogue. Got that and just started riding BMX around the city with one of my homies that lived in my building. Taught myself just through trial and error. Just figure you gotta jump over something. There was like this driveway by my house downtown in the city, and it's like a cobblestone street, and it was like one of the sidewalks, like one piece was like taller than the other, so you could it was like a bump jump. So I learned how to do it off that, just go real fast and like you hit the front tire and then it would just kind of propel you, and then after that, it was just like, okay, maybe I could do it without that. And then try to jump over something, try to jump onto something. So probably a few days, I would say, just like jumping, obviously you just progress jumping over things that are taller, but for the most part, it was, pretty quick. Yeah, you had nothing really to go by except just your own personal experience. And then once I started like riding outside of like my block, I would end up going to Union Square a lot. And that was like the epicenter of everything. So you would go there and you'd see people like doing tricks down the stairs, up the stairs, like over garbage cans. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. I was like, I need to get on that level. I was like pretty short and pretty weak when I was younger. I think I weighed like 100 pounds. I was like barely 5 feet tall. So the bikes at that time were like 45 pounds at least. And I had like front and back brakes. I had everything. I had the Alex triple wall rims, a standard, and it was a ton. And then just trying to maneuver that thing around was rough, but and then I was groovy footed, all that stuff. So it was like real hard to just like get the bike to do everything I wanted to do. But once I figured that out, it was smooth sailing. Definitely saw somebody do a 180 and I was like, wow, that person just spun around and is riding backwards now. And then the thing with the 180 is like, you could get the spin, but then it's just like, oh, now you got to learn how to like roll backwards. And at that point, free coasters were basically like a flatland thing. So it was all cassette, and then once you land, you got to like back pedal, then you got to roll out. So it was definitely a major learning process. I don't know. I do a lot of weird grinds, like just like try to put pegs on all sorts of different like ledges and rails and whatnot. yeah, just trying to ride like unconventional objects. I never really learned too many tricks. Like I never learned how to like do a tail whip or anything like that. So it kind of like kept me away from like riding specific, like I don't know, like I don't really ride skate parks. Not that they go together, but it's kind of just try to ride the things that are out there naturally in the street. So it was weird, man. I thought it was gonna be really easy. Like I'd see everything on TV and I'd be like, oh yeah, you just go fast and like jump off this thing or like go up this thing and it works. And I was like, this is definitely scary. It's like completely different than like just riding street, you know? Or at least back then, all the skate parks in the city were like giant ramps. So it was like Mullali's was like they had like a pretty tall mini ramp and just like big box jumps. And then Riverside was like a half pipe and box jumps, and Chelsea Piers was the same thing. So we didn't really have anything that was like a plaza. They didn't even really exist at that point. So it was definitely scary. And I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna stay away from that. I like just being outside, seeing people. Like I like the whole atmosphere that street riding has. Like the skate park thing is kind of an enclosed like environment. But I kind of just like being out, like riding around, talking about what I'm gonna get to eat or something, you know? So the worst fall I ever had, definitely 2011 in Coney Island. I was out there with Tyrone and Ralphie Ramos. Day was going real good, tooth hanging up this one rail. I was like, all right, let's go to the one rail spot that everybody hits, the right side rail. And yeah, it didn't go too good. It was just going for the overcrook. Back end went a little too far out, landed knee sideways, body the other way, ankle one way, and I was out for a minute. I thought I might have tore something. Who knows, I never really went and got checked out. I never went to the hospital for it, just got a cane from somebody and used that for a few days. And then about a month later, I was able to walk. So I didn't hear anything pop, but I couldn't even bend my leg, so it was rough. 2 weeks after that, I was just like trying to get my knee bending again. I couldn't bend my leg at all. And then once I started getting some movement in it again, I started just pedaling around and then back in the mix. But after that, I kind of like, it made me think a little bit about like falling and protecting myself a little more, because I was on a kind of a rampage at that point, just trying anything. So that definitely put a little fear into my rail riding abilities. I'm grateful that I was able to pull through that and make it to this era of riding. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to not really like have anything too serious happen, bruises and aches and pains. But other than that, it's been relatively smooth. I haven't broke anything, but I've definitely been taken out of the game a few times for like a few weeks at a time, like just getting killed trying something. Riding now is definitely still fun. I think traveling makes it more interesting. Just being able to go to new places. I mean, I've been riding in the same city for my whole life and I've been a lot of places. I've been to every neighborhood in the city, like behind restaurants and like alleyways and everything. So it's like I have a good sense of like what's available, you know, like filming and riding, and just for so long, it's just kind of like, I wouldn't say it's boring, but like, it's just, you know, it's redundant a little bit. You see the same things over and over again, especially with like, you know, the ride to work in the morning. It's like, if you take the same street, eventually you're just like, the ride becomes, but when you go somewhere new, it's like, whoa, you don't know what you're gonna see. So like riding has a whole new, it's like invigorated again, you know? So been to Japan a few times, Europe, South America, South Korea, Canada. I don't know. I mean, I've been around the world. I don't know, man. They're all good. It's anytime you get to go somewhere new is definitely an experience that's worth taking. Japan for the first time was pretty wild because I'd never been that far away, like from the mainland, and it was just so crazy. Like everything was rideable. The supermarket had crazy things like inside and outside. It's like, and they just kind of didn't really care. So here it's like, if there's something real cool to ride, there's probably security. There was security, but eventually like they went home and you were able to hit it. So the people, they were into it. They just kind of kept it moving. If they saw something, they would stop and watch and then just kind of go about their day. So yeah, they have a giant scene there and everybody's super cool, super nice. I guess just all the traveling and like everywhere really is just like, it's an eye-opening experience because you realize that like the world isn't as big as you think it is. And everybody's kind of like the same in a sense. Like there's no reason why in my eyes, there's no reason why there should be any troubles between anybody because everybody could share a common hobby. You know, it's like you go out to Japan, it's like people I never met before and they like the same things I like. And you're like, this is crazy. Like we never met, you live on the opposite side of the world. And meanwhile, like we're like having a good time together, like just riding around and just like looking at things and grinding the same ledge. And you're like, the world is a very strange and awesome place. Yeah, I forgot to mention though, left out the Caribbean. That was another, those were great trips too, going down to Jamaica and Trinidad. So it's like, you're in this crazy, like beautiful coastal area. And then all of a sudden there's like all these riders around that are just down to just meet up and go hit some spots. So that was great too. That was a good experience.
Life behind.
There'll be days where I'm just like, let me just go and check out this neighborhood or whatever, or go to this restaurant or go to this little thrift store or something, and I'll just go by myself and then maybe link up with people later. I'll go like super early in the morning, like 6 a.m. and then maybe around like 11 or 12, meet up with everybody afterwards. So do the solo and then I do the group style. The fact that the internet is like way more intense now than it was when I first started riding. Like there were no like outlets really for riders to share anything. You basically had like, you know, like VHSs that would come out, like props or whatever, like video magazines that would come out and you'd catch up on what was going on around the world through that. And then like once the internet started kind of taking shape with BMX and like, then you'd be like message boards, people would link up on that. New York had 20-inch NYC. That was like a pretty popular one. I think the only one. And then once Instagram came out, it just made the world seem like it was just it was just so connected after that, just contacting people from everywhere just easily without having to get a calling card or take up crazy amount of like phone charges, you know? Back then it was like, I didn't have a camera when I first started riding. So it was like, you would just try things and that's it. Like there would be no documentation. We would all go out and ride and be like, oh, just hit this rail. And it's like, that's it. You don't have nothing to show for it. So when you tell somebody about it, like they didn't even bother asking you if there was like footage of it. Maybe you have a picture because people carried like point and shoot cameras. But other than that, there was no documentation. What made me start AMPM was the fact that there weren't any consistent videos coming out of New York, and there was so much talent. There still is so much talent, but back then it was like there was a lot of kids riding and a lot of people doing crazy stuff, and it was kind of just like if you know, people like if Bob or Tyrone weren't around with their cameras to film, or Jerry wasn't around to film, and that stuff would go for Animal. But it's like, if they weren't around, this stuff was just kind of not being documented. So I was like, damn, we have a whole scene here that's just, people are just waiting around for camera guys or camera crews to come through for like whatever scene reports or whatever. It's like, they're just kind of, everybody's riding and none of this stuff's being documented. Let me get a camera and try to do something. So started filming like close friends that I rode with. And then it was just like, oh, once we started going around to different parts of the city, it's like, film these people too. And then the whole scene just kind of got real connected. it got real tight. You started seeing people from like deep in Queens starting to come into the city to ride, to film, and go. Everybody from the city was going out there. So it brought everybody together pretty much. 2005. I started AMPM in 2005. I mean, it's funny looking back at videos because like I started it right before like YouTube became popular or like it even existed. And then when YouTube came out, I was just making videos like every few weeks. I was just putting something online with featuring everybody from the city. And then I was going to school upstate, and I was like coming back and forth from Albany to like New York, and getting people from up there, people down here, and it was just combining just pretty much the whole state of New York. And just went from there, just started making YouTube videos, and then eventually it was like, yeah, we should just make a full-length DVD. So started doing that, and then multiple ones came out. I took a break for a long time, but have another one coming out very soon. So with AMPM, I don't really have any like expectations really. Like, I mean, I have them for myself and like what I want to do, and I know there's other guys that are a part of it that feel the same way, but it's just mainly going out and just kind of freestyling it, I guess, keeping the original game plan, like when you first start riding, trying to keep that ideology going. Just kind of spontaneous. It's like, let's go hit a neighborhood and see what happens. And then, sometimes you'll have like, you'll see something you want to do and maybe go back to do that, just like any other normal video would be filmed. But yeah, just try to like ride things that are like New York things, and then just freestyle it from there, I guess. As of lately, the older dudes, like a lot of guys that were a part of this for a long time, have kids, grow up, get married. Not to say that if you're still riding, you're not growing up, but just trying to put some footage out there to remind everybody of like what was going on here, and that try to keep some sort of like history alive. There's been a lot of crazy things have happened, like with bike riding in the city for the past 30 years. And I feel like that gets lost in the sauce. So just trying to keep the history going, try to remind everybody that like, that there's depth to like what's been going on here, So just made a fake university and started posting some stuff on Instagram, and just all raw footage, just no music, just the sounds of whatever, no cuts or anything. It's just how I uploaded the footage onto the computer. So. So I work as a high school teacher for the Department of Education. Been doing that for 13 years. And I don't know, I do a lot of music stuff. This video has been taking a long time, mainly because I've been focusing on making all the music myself. So just like sampling a lot of records and like DJing and stuff. Combining that together. It's like trying to make music rather than like play somebody else's. I go to a lot of flea markets and get a lot of my my records that way, tapes, CDs, whatever. So yeah, just pretty much that stuff. I like going fishing a lot. Do that in the summertime when it's nice. Sometimes go on some winter trips overnight. Yeah, so I'd say fishing, producing music, and going to flea markets, finding weird stuff. It's funny because there's been times where like I've spoken to like surfers or like snowboarders that do like crazy stuff, and they're just like, oh, I can't believe you guys jump on rails and ride in the street. And I'm like, yo, you guys are like in the middle of the ocean surfing giant waves. Like, you could drown. And like, it's like, nah, but you get hit by a car. I was like, I'd rather get hit by a car than drown, like, or like fall off a mountain. I don't know. I feel like that stuff is just so crazy. I try to stay away from the extreme side of bike riding. It's like, it's just too much for me. There's guys that do like the mega ramp stuff, and it's very impressive, but it's super dangerous. It's like one false move and you're done for a long time, you know? Who do I look up to for inspiration? It's a big list, and they're not even bike riders. Well, some of them are, but obviously all the homies that I ride with, because we're out all the time in the streets just doing stuff. So like, we'll give each other ideas and push each other to like try things. But there's like a lot of like film directors, like old school film directors. And I try to get inspiration from anything. Just, it doesn't have to necessarily be bike riding or skateboarding, you know? You see like, I don't know, you hear a song on the radio that gives you an idea. You hear something like, you talk to somebody that made, like when I was going to college, I took an urban planning class, and it's like, you start learning about the people that design cities and like design the suburbs and just architects, and like you get inspiration from them, because it's like whatever ideas they have of building something, like I'm trying to figure out how to how to ride my bike on it, you know? So yeah, I just try to take inspiration from everywhere. What makes me more happy, filming or riding? I feel like a lot of people get confused because I'm a rider first and a filmer second. So when I come out with my camera and I'm filming everybody, like I still consider, like I want to ride, I don't want to film. Like I hate carrying a bag around, but I do it because somebody's got to do it. And yeah, I feel like, I've sacrificed a lot of time over the years, like doing it that way. So, but it's worth it because I'm trying to help everybody like showcase what they could do, and just trying to represent the city in an authentic way. So yeah, I definitely want to like keep New York City relevant when it comes to bike riding, because at one point it was the Mecca, you know, like people all over the world wanted to come here. People still do, but it's kind of lost its shining moment. And obviously nothing gold can stay, so. Right now I'm riding a T1 scapegoat frame. This is the Bob Sherbo signature Harley frame he's got. And yeah, I got a bunch of animal parts on here. So yeah, just mainly, we got merit seat. Yeah, mainly animal merit and T1. So they've been holding me down for quite some time. The international bike, man. What advice would I give to new riders? Just patience, man. That's the hardest part of the game, is being patient. Because it's not easy. You're gonna get hurt. You're gonna break your bike. It's gonna cost you money. There's gonna be things that you wanna do that you can't. There's gonna be spots you wanna ride that you can't. Like it's a waiting game, you know? There's been things that I've been trying to do for like 10 years, and it never worked out because of like timing. And now the timing just happens to be right some days, and it just works. So yeah, I'd say patience would be the key to longevity in bike riding. I'd like to shout out all the people that have been doing it and continue to do it for the time that we've been riding. I'd like to thank Tyrone for holding down the shop for so long. I mean, if it wasn't for him, it'd be real difficult to meet up and get things accomplished. I mean, he basically turned into the epicenter of New York City bike riding. So first and foremost, him. And then, yeah, just the companies that continue to make bikes and everybody that stays true to themselves, I guess. That's everybody all over the world, man. I like to thank the Japanese homies every time we go out there. They roll out the red carpet and just hold us down, and like everybody who does that all over the world. So if I start naming people, then it's like, yo, what's up, man? But even I also want to shout out the people that I've got to film over the years, had the pleasure of working with. People have done a lot of crazy things, and I feel grateful to be able to document that. So it's not always easy to throwing yourself down a set of stairs or whatever for nothing. We don't get paid anything for it, so you're just doing it for the love.